What is up, everyone? Jordan Bates here, coming to you from sunny Costa Rica. And today I want to continue with a video series about the top blind spots of some of my favorite thinkers and teachers and etc. And so today I'm going to talk about the blind spots of Jordan Peterson. First, I'll say I really love Jordan Peterson. I've listened to a lot of his lectures. I think he has a lot of beautiful things to say. I think he's, kind of a powerful, archetypal grandfather figure for many of the internet generation. So, peace and love to Jordan Peterson. This video series is really about just acknowledging the value of giving radically honest, loving feedback about blind spots and shadows. I really welcome this type of feedback for myself. It helps me see where my reality tunnel and the solidified structures of my mind may be blocking me from perceiving more of reality, more of truth. And so, in that spirit, I'm just offering one ape's perspective on some potential blind spots of some of my favorite teachers. So, let's dive right in here. So, Jordan Peterson, I think one key blind spot is that he kind of falls prey to reinforcing like a separation-based us versus them paradigm of kind of splitting the world up into groups and reinforcing this idea that some groups are the good guys and some are the bad guys. I think a lot of people project this onto him to a great extent. They kind of make him out to be this much more than he is. But to an extent, I think he does play into this. He has this, really strong distaste for social justice warriors and the kind of academic radical left, and he speaks often very clearly and articulately about the blind spots of this ideology, but he also has quite an obvious distaste for this ideology and for the people who are kind of possessed by this ideology, and he doesn't really speak as much or as passionately about other groups and other ideologies. So it's not too hard to get the idea from him that the SJWs are kind of the bad guys who are destroying the world, and we need to burn down their ideas and we need to undercut them at every turn. And ultimately, my sense is that we're actually at a point in human history where we're being summoned to transcend this kind of us versus them thinking entirely and really move into a space of consciousness where we're not creating enemies in our mind, where we're not creating good guys and bad guys, move into a more non-dual or a kind of unity consciousness where we see that all actors are basically doing what is indicated or what seems appropriate within their current paradigm at any given moment. And so we reach a place of kind of universal, unconditional love, acceptance, and forgiveness for all human actors. And so there's an extent to which I think Jordan Peterson is fueling a paradigm of us versus them that we need to transcend, or that he can do that sometimes. Another one is that he seems to be over-attached to rationality and the rational intellect, the linear, conscious, conceptual mind. The Western global monoculture has really put the intellect on a pedestal. In recent times, we've really come to cherish the intellect as the kind of pinnacle of intelligence in the universe, and we think that with the intellect we can kind of solve the biggest questions of existence. My sense is that the intellect, the rational conscious mind, is very useful. It's a very useful kind of servant or scalpel for certain more narrow purposes, like understanding the dynamics of material reality, at least to a great enough degree to manipulate material reality in a way so as to create technologies or to design organizations or design societies. It's useful in this way. It's useful for languaging. It's useful for creating linguistic maps that can be useful in different ways. But when it comes to the biggest questions of existence, who are we? What is this? What is true? What is real? What is the ultimate reality here? What is the meaning and purpose of life? These things are beyond the pay grade of the intellect. And I think over-attachment to the intellect blocks, you kind of get wrapped up in a perpetual stream of thought and wrapped up in the perpetual activity of the conceptual mind, such that you're blocked from dropping back into a space of what we might call pure awareness or pure consciousness, which has a kind of innate intelligence that doesn't have to do with creating symbolic, abstract maps of reality, but rather has a way of sort of more like directly seeing and directly seeing into the nature of reality and directly realizing things about reality. It's more of like a holistic, non-linear, more intuitive apprehension of reality. And this space of kind of pure consciousness has been, and the intelligence that resides there has been discussed by, Krishnamurti and David Hawkins, and pointed at by many of the great sages and seers and mystics of history. So it seems to me that Jordan Peterson's over-attachment to the intellect blocks an in-touchness and connectedness to some of the deeper intelligences that are accessible to the human organism, the intelligences of the kind of body, heart, spirit, pure consciousness. On a related note, I think there's an over-attachment to scientific-materialist orthodoxy, and this discussion has a lot in common, actually, with the video I made about the blind spots of Sam Harris, who also is quite, I think even more so, over-attached to the story told by scientific materialism. A lot of people won't like to hear this idea that what science tells us about reality is also a story. A lot of people have kind of begun to worship science almost as a new religion, and they think, oh, science is not just another story. It's objective, and it's telling us objective facts about objective reality. This is actually another story, I'm afraid to say. Fundamentally, the map is not the territory. No map created by the human mind can ever be the infinite territory of reality. It's always a compression. It's always a massive compression of infinite reality down to kind of an encoded set of linguistic signs and symbols. And the maps provided by science are no different. Again, they can be really useful in certain ways, but science, even science as a methodology, operates on certain fundamental assumptions, such as matter is fundamental and there is an objective reality, and we can know this objective reality, and reality started with the Big Bang some billions of years ago, and things like this. But historically, there have been so many paradigm shifts and revolutionary shifts within science that have dethroned the current orthodoxy that we should be very skeptical of whatever the present story is that's being told by science. And I mean, yeah, even the Newtonian paradigm that's allowed us to do so much in terms of devising technology has now been largely has been undercut by a lot of the kind of quantum weirdness that we've discovered. We've discovered the observer effect, that reality behaves differently when you're looking at it, when someone is looking at it versus when someone is not looking at it. And so, yeah, the fundamentals of physics are actually in quite a turbulent period at the moment, and yeah, it's simply, yeah, this is quite a deep subject. It's hard to provide a simple synopsis, but basically one can simply say that the stories provided by science are just that. They are also stories and maps that cannot be the territory, and an over-attachment to these maps blocks a deeper apprehension of the territory in a way that goes beyond all words and goes beyond the conceptual mind. So I would say this is another blind spot of Jordan Peterson. Another one is that there seems to be, Jordan Peterson is like a very kind of divine masculine, archetypal divine masculine, almost like grandfather figure, with maybe a hint of some aspects of the shadow masculine, we could say, like perhaps some hints of kind of like a tyrannical father. He seems to be quite hard with himself and others in a certain way, and to some extent this level of kind of the hard masculine discipline is really needed for a lot of people right now. It's very useful. It's refreshing for a lot of people. It's needed for a lot of young men who feel kind of lost and directionless. So Jordan Peterson has been very helpful in this regard. But yeah, he seems to be kind of blocked from some of the more divine feminine elements of the mastery of life, such as surrender and flow and softness and warmth. So I think there's a way in which, if he were to dissolve certain blockages and allow more of the divine feminine to be integrated into his operating system, he might have a more well-rounded integral perspective, and this might also help to heal some of his pain, because he seems to have, and so he admits to have, quite a lot of pain in life. So that's something I see as well. There's also, I see in Jordan Peterson kind of an over-identification with the world of form in general, which is completely understandable and is very common among human beings. We tend to take this world of form, this world of appearance that we're in, as the fundamental reality, and we don't really, it's uncommon for people to see beyond that reality. We tell stories about a world of separate objects and a separate self moving through a world of separate objects, and we project this story onto reality, and we kind of take this ever-shifting, impermanent world of form to be fundamental reality. And as a result of this, Jordan Peterson has had some powerful mystical experiences, I think, and he has a kind of faith in God, but it seems that he projects God as being like outside of himself, perhaps. I'm not really sure of his view, but it seems like God for him is more transcendent rather than immanent. Immanent, transcendent meaning like outside of the world of form, and whereas immanent means like present in everything. And I think that when one disidentifies from the world of form and disidentifies from the stories of the human mind and drops back into that space beyond the conceptual mind, into the space of kind of pure awareness, one comes to see that there is a reality beyond the world of form, a kind of changeless, deathless, silent, unmoving, absolute reality that is our truest nature. And one obtains a deeper realization of the oneness of God, to see that God is both transcendent and immanent, that God is beyond this world of form, this manifest world, and that there's a realm of kind of the unmanifest, call it like the intelligent ether, or like an invisible ocean of potential or no thingness, out of which creation emerges, and that God is really all there is. There's this allness and oneness that contains both the unmanifest and manifest aspects of creation, and ultimately God is all of that. God is all that is. I mean, God is simply one of our most powerful signifiers for pointing at that with no name, that which has no name. And when you're able to disidentify from the world of form and the stories of the mind to a certain degree, to be able to drop down into this space of contemplative, meditative, sort of pure awareness, and you download or apprehend directly more of this understanding of the immanence and transcendence and oneness of God, it brings a level of peace and trust in reality, and a seeing that fundamentally nothing can ever be wrong. Things simply are as they are, and whatever is right. So I think there could be a deeper peace that Jordan Peterson could realize if he were to drop back from being over-attached to the conceptual mind and the stories of a world of separate objects and this world of form. Perhaps if he did a silent meditation retreat or worked with ayahuasca or something like this, maybe it would benefit him. I don't know. Last couple here. I think as a result of overvaluing the conceptual mind and a lot of his stories about how the world is, Jordan Peterson overvalues debate. Similar to Sam Harris, he thinks that beliefs can be true, and he likes to clash his beliefs up against others to see who wins and who has the more correct beliefs. But a deeper realization, again, is that the map is not the territory. The map can never be the territory. Beliefs are fundamentally sets of linguistic signifiers that attempt to compress the infinite vastness and infinite intricacies of the territory of reality down into these finite, limited maps. And so, there's a space beyond the maps, beyond the stories, in which you realize that no story, no belief can fundamentally be truth. And so you stop taking beliefs and stories and the concoctions of the conceptual mind so seriously, and your desire to debate or argue with people gradually kind of falls away, and you see that words and linguistic maps are more of a game that we're playing that can be useful, but you tend more toward collaborative truth-seeking, and you tend to have a much deeper kind of humility about the capacity for words to communicate reality. You see more and more that words are like fingers pointing at the moon, and you don't want to get lost in the finger. What you want is the moon, but it's the historic human tendency to attempt to encode truth as written belief systems, like write it down and make a Bible out of it and make a really elaborate kind of finger pointing at the moon, and then get mad at the people who have a different finger that kind of says things in a different way. Even though both fingers are pointing at the same moon, pretty soon the human groups want to kill the other group that is telling a different story. This is kind of the historic pattern, so we need to actually, it seems to me we're being summoned at this point in history to realize that the map is not the territory and move past this dogmatizing us versus them tribal tendency, and realize that truth is, and we are all truth. Truth is one, all is one, and it's a living mystery moving through all of us in every moment. So, another big subject that gives some approximation. And finally, I think generally these over-identifications with the world of form and with stories and positionalities and opinions causes Jordan Peterson to take life quite seriously. He seems to take himself and life very seriously. Again, he seems to have a lot of pain, seems like fairly tortured on some level as a result of being so deeply invested and attached to the stories that his mind is creating about how the world is and what is happening and what needs to happen. It's kind of like Alan Watts said, you suffer because you take seriously what the gods made for fun. And so there's something really true and really profound about laughter and about kind of seeing that this world is actually like a game and a dance that's here for us to play and create and manifest whatever we like and laugh. The world is here fundamentally for us to enjoy and create, rather than life fundamentally being, some kind of terrible struggle with a lot of really draconian, awful, nasty elements. And this is a story that the mind can tell about reality, and it can project this onto reality, and then this becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and one can experience reality this way. But somehow when we're laughing, when we're playing, when we're in a more childlike state, we sort of cut through all the bullshit and we tap into a more fundamental truth of life. We tune into a more fundamental frequency of the spirit of life. And so, yeah, I think I would love to just like joke around with Jordan Peterson, have a laugh with him, and maybe take some psychedelics and laugh at the cosmic joke or something like this. I feel like it might be good for his spirit to do something like that. So that is approximately what I wanted to say about the blind spots of Jordan Peterson. Once again, I love you, Jordan Peterson. Thank you very much. This is just, another linguistic map created by one ape brain. Again, the map is not the territory, so take this with a grain of salt, but perhaps this is a useful series of breadcrumbs for some of you on your path to, just go deeper and keep expanding your reality tunnel to include more of what may or may not be the case, or what may be true, what may be possible. So thank you for listening. I wish you a lovely existence. Please subscribe and ding the notification bell if you like this video to see future videos. And I'll see you around the next bend in the river. Peace and love.